Hello, hi, and welcome to Adventures in Music of me, Jim, where we listen to, talk about, and do all sorts of things music-y. Today, I'm having a chat with none other than Charlie Griffiths, who is one of the guitarists from Haken, but is also a solo musician in his own right. He's got a new album coming out at the beginning of March, and I joined him for a chat and a cup of coffee this morning. Here's the video. Charlie, how you doing?
It's a good look, though. It's a good look. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah. Thanks for sort of coming on here and having a chat. It's a bit early in the morning for you. Is this okay?
It's all right.
Yeah,
it's all right. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. Same time zone, which is always good.
Yeah.
So often I chat to people, and they're sort of in America or somewhere else in the rest of the world. It's oh my god, okay, it's 4:30 in the afternoon there, or if I'm doing something like this at this time of the morning, then it's what's the 4 o'clock in the morning? What are you trying to do?
I know.
Don't work.
And I always get it wrong as well. I'm always early or late.
So, as I say, thanks for coming on. I guess the first thing I need to ask you is tell us about your new album that's coming out. Very excited. I've been listening to it a lot over the last week.
You have?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
It is fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And I know it's early in the year to have an album of the year, and I'll probably forget by the time we get to the other end. But at the minute, this is such a great album. It's really, really up there. Talk to me about it. Tell me about it.
Well, I just yesterday these arrived for me. So this
fabulous.
is an exclusive for your channel. Yeah.
I love the artwork. It's so throwback 80s sort of Megadeth-y sort of style, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So it's Tiktaalik, Gods of Pangaea.
Yeah.
And that was exactly the idea. I wanted it to kind of have that nostalgic feel to it.
Yes.
And my friend Dan Goldsworthy, he did the first Tiktaalik.
Yeah. Which is really in a sort of a Roger Dean style, that one, isn't it?
Very much, yeah. And that was really kind of outside of Dan's normal kind of comfort zone.
Yeah.
This is more his thing, like he does a lot of metal bands and
yeah.
But I knew, like from his work, if you can draw a zombie emerging from a toxic lake,
yeah.
You can draw anything, right? You can
absolutely.
So then he also did. After that, he did the fauna stuff for Haken as well. Yeah,
this bad boy.
Yeah, that one. So he can draw anything.
Amazing.
Yeah. So the idea of this one, it was like I wanted it to, the fun of like sifting through vinyl bins in record stores, right, kind of thing.
Yeah, one of my favorite pastimes.
Yeah, and I love doing that just for the artwork, really, more than anything.
Yeah.
And it was like I wanted it to kind of say if someone came across this randomly and didn't know what it was, they would kind of assume it was from 1991.
Yes.
And an album they'd missed somehow.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the idea. Yeah.
Tiktaalik, is that how you pronounce it? So I was thinking Tiktaalik, but no, Tiktaalik.
Yeah, well, I've got sorry. So it's one of these guys, right? Which is
right, okay.
It's called a Tiktaalik, and it's I think in the 90s or early 2000s maybe it was discovered on Ellesmere Island in the Arctic Canadian area.
Right.
And so it was like a kind of what they call a fisher-pod, which is halfway between fish and tetrapod, whatever. So so it's quite a that was kind of what inspired me to do the first album. Really, the whole story of this guy called Neil Shubin, who's a paleontologist in Chicago. There's a book called Your Inner Fish, which really kind of inspired the whole thing. And it was all about that. From the existing fossil records of fish and four-legged creatures, they identified the kind of age of rock where there should be something halfway in between kind of thing.
Right.
So there's about three or four places on the Earth's surface where this particular age of rock is accessible.
Wow.
And so yeah, they went to this place in Canada where there was a lot of this kind of age of rock that hadn't really been explored
Uh-huh.
before.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I think after a few years of visiting there, they found a layer of these things.
So,
And
so this is not actually a creature at all that is around and hasn't been for millions and millions and millions of years. It's there in the fossil record.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, in the
Okay.
fossil record, yeah.
Mm.
And so it's in the I think like so Tiktaalik comes from the local language
Yes.
of the people there. It's called Inuktitut or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it's so, but it just means large fish in their language, Tiktaalik kind
Oh,
of thing. So it's
okay.
and I always thought that was like a cool sounding metal word,
Yeah,
and
defo.
I put an A on the end of it to
As
make
you
it a
do.
bit more unique.
Yeah.
So Tiktaalik, yeah,
Excellent.
yeah,
And it has a sort of look, almost like a sort of a Metallica sort of
exactly,
ring
yeah.
to it.
Put an A
Yeah.
on it, and
Yeah.
it's metal, yeah.
Excellent. Fabulous. It all sounds like there's that band from sort of Germany, the Collective The Ocean. They sort of look at all the sort of the sort of different eons
Yeah,
and
like
ages.
geological
Exactly
time.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Sounds like something they'd have done. There's a
yeah. Which is very, kind of almost like an untapped
resource.
resource for
Yeah,
as a concept of
yeah, yeah, yeah,
things to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
explore. Yeah, and that that it inspires me. I did geology at college. Kind
Oh,
of
did
thing
you?
in the early 90s,
Yeah.
and it was around the same time I was kind of listening to like my formative bands.
Yes.
Like Dream Theater. You know, was the early 90s and all
Yes.
that kind of
Yeah,
progressive
yeah, yeah,
metal
yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
really getting serious about guitar.
You're right.
So it was really that kind of period that cemented what I'm into and what inspires me.
Well, I
Yeah.
have to say,
Yeah.
and I assume that it's absolutely deliberate, but this record sounds like an absolute love letter to late '80s, early '90s metal, and it is
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. I've missed this sound so much because obviously, as much as I love sort of prog metal, prog rock, modern metal, and degent and all that sort of stuff, it's a great thing. I really miss that melodic and not shredding, because I don't think it's shredding as such, but it's actually sort of
Yeah.
thoughtful playing, and you
Mhm.
don't really get that in the same way as you do now. It's all very sort of planned and seems mathematical almost music now, whereas yours seems very very organic and true to that golden era of metal. It's absolutely amazing. I
Thanks.
love
Yeah.
it.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I kind of feel the same way with like modern metal. It's like it's a lot of it does seem like by numbers kind of
Mm.
thing. Like you can and it's like really complex
Yeah.
and but it's
Uh,
I kind of think for me when I'm writing music it's like way easier to write complex stuff because
it's a
it's
formula.
easy to come up with.
It's a
Yeah, and
formula, isn't it? Yeah.
it's like easy to come up with something that hasn't been done before just by saying, okay, this series of numbers
Yeah.
sounds like this rhythm kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's way more difficult to come up. Just this album is pretty much 4/4 straight grooves kind of thing, and
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just like simple riffs
Yes.
that repeat. This like repeating the same riff over and over again is like
But
become
properly.
a lost art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a lot of. There's a lot of music you listen to. There's nowhere to sort of hang your musical hat, as it were. There's a hook. There's not enough hooks, or there's not enough groove, or not enough riffs, as you say.
Yeah.
And you get
Yeah.
lost.
And
And
when you come up with something that you can repeat, and it's like
yeah.
for me it's way more satisfying
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, this is like a you know what those bands did, like Megadeth, Metallica, Testament. You know, like
Yes.
they had just like a thing that repeated, and that was
Yeah.
the hook of the song.
And that's what everyone loved about it, and it's
Yeah,
what drew
yeah,
people in. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
How did you come up with the list of the musicians that are on here? So obviously you know Connor very well from
Yes, yes,
the day job, as it were.
yeah,
Did you know Darby beforehand? Darby Todd?
yeah. Well, Darby played on the first album
Oh,
as well,
right. Okay. Right.
which in fact was his first metal album that he ever recorded.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then since then he's like, uh, joined Devin's band and done
Yeah.
a bunch of Devin stuff. And
Yeah. So he's sort of blown up, isn't he? Really? Sort of
yeah,
all of a
like
sudden.
over the lockdown, he kind
Yeah.
of became the go-to
The
guy,
go-to guy. Yeah.
which is cool. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing. He lives kind of locally, like kind of South London,
All right.
kind of thing. So we've crossed paths for years and just said, oh, we've always said, oh, we should do something together.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, as with everyone, the lockdown gave you the opportunity to do something, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I knew I wanted to have him back on this one because he's like, he's very, just quick and like, what's the word? Like it's his playing is like not planned at all. It's very
Right.
kind of instantaneous, like.
Oh, right.
So I'll send the track and like he'll have it back to me within 24 hours kind of thing. Like he just plays what.
He doesn't overthink it. He plays.
Yeah,
He
he
feels.
plays what you're supposed to play,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
basically, But he'll put his own. He's got like the jazzy fusion chops,
Yes.
but he's able to do that John Bonham backbeat
Yeah.
when needed. But
Yes.
he's also got that kind of Meshuggah-esque
Well,
control over
absolutely.
the kick drums.
I
So
know. It's unbelievable. Some of the stuff that is on the record.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
that.
and then Connor came into it because he was like, just completely of his own volition. He was showing me that he was transcribing Master of Puppets. Nothing to do with anything I was doing. It was just like he was just like showing me because he found it interesting, like the Cliff Burton approach
Yeah.
I think it was something more he wanted to bring into Haken, which was like,
Wow.
if you compare, say, like the Master of Puppets riff,
Yeah.
which on guitar is a very specific thing.
Yes.
It's kind of, and you kind of think, oh, surely the bass is doing the same thing, right? But when you isolate the bass, like we can, using, like we can have the technology nowadays to split
To split out the stems.
the
Can't
track
you?
into stems,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so when you hear what Cliff Burton was doing, it was like a different. He was playing different notes than what you thought he was, kind of thing. And it was like, oh, that's got to be something to do with why Metallica sound so good.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
because like they've got these little things that you don't expect, kind of thing. So he transcribed the whole album just to kind of figure out, oh, so if the guitar's doing this, what would the bass do in Cliff Burton's mind,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like,
Okay. So actually,
I,
I was going to.
I want some of that on my album, basically.
Well,
So
I was going to ask you very specifically about that. So, he's leaning very heavily into that sort of Cliff Burton approach and sound. And what I was going to say is that something that you wanted, or was it Connor that came up with that? So, I think you've kind of answered that question a little bit. It's a bit of both, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially I was just planning to do the bass myself, like I did on the first one, and but then because I know the guitar riffs so well,
Yeah,
I would have probably just ended up mimicking what the guitar was doing. And I just thought, from what Connor was doing, I thought, oh, that would be more interesting to have like you take care of the bass. I'm not going to tell you what to play or anything. So you take that kind of Cliff Burton-esque thing.
You take the music and run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, like so sometimes you have to kind of follow what the guitar's doing just to get that
Oh,
solid sound,
yeah.
and sometimes the bass will do something else to kind of add more harmonically or melodically. Um, yeah, so I just left into it, and he sent me the track, and
Did you
I just
guys
put it in a
work?
project. That was that. Yeah.
Did you ever sort of work in the same room at the same time, or was it all done remotely?
Well, a lot of it we were in the same room uh, because we a lot of the tracking we did during our last tour,
Yeah.
the European tour. So here and there we'd set up in a backstage room and just be recording. But we'd both be wearing headphones and
Right.
facing away from, so we were in the
Okay.
same room, but
So
yeah, there was never any discussion really. It was just like, yeah. So
that
yeah,
was
so that's the drums and the bass, and then um, yeah, a bunch of singers.
yes, a whole group of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. So Daniel de Jong, I think you say. Um, he was on the first album again.
Mm.
He's the singer in Textures, and he's got this incredible kind of rich, kind of soulful, melodic vocal style
Yeah.
that I love.
Yeah.
He can sing this, he can sing like blues licks in a way
Yeah.
that it just sounds really genuine and kind of soulful kind of thing. Like there's a song called "Give Up the Ghost." It's got this da 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 kind of lyrical, kind of bendy, kind of bluesy melody kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just could hear him singing it, kind of, in when I was coming up with it.
Hmm.
And yeah, luckily he said yes. And so he sings that. He sings the Tyrannicide, the opening track.
Man, that's a
And
track.
yeah, oh, yeah, that's a fun one.
It is.
Yeah. And then he sings the title track. So he's on 3 songs. Yeah. And then we've got Vladimir Lalish, who's a friend. Uh, again, he was on the first album. Had to have him back for this one. He's on 2 tracks. He's on uh, the third track, which is called. I'm forgetting the names of my tracks already. There you go. There you go. Right. The Forbidden Zone, and then Mesozoic Mantras. He sings on that one, which is yeah. I couldn't really think of imagine anyone else singing that one. It was
Hmm.
like a that was like a I was kind of leaning more into Merciful Fate / King Diamond on
Yeah.
that song,
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas this kind of more theatrical. Uh, I just kind of had this image. I mean, it was like kind of this image I was thinking of for that particular song, where it was like
Right.
this kind of like
Demonic
typical,
preacher.
yeah, like an
Yeah.
evil preacher
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
and he's like using dinosaur fossils in some diabolical manner to kind of extract some power from them to so it is kind of ridiculous, but oh yeah, check out the
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
so it's kind of like a homage to like King Diamond's Them
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
with some dinosaurs added to it, kind of thing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And so yeah, Vladimir sang that one like amazingly. This kind of King Diamond meets Warrell Dane,
Hmm.
kind of over the top uh, way of
Yes.
singing. And then we have Tommy Rogers. He's on Lost Continent, the closing track. So he's from BT Bam,
Yeah.
and that had to be like a lot of death metal screaming.
Yeah. So
Um,
that there's not a lot of that on the album, is there? Because I was thinking that's again very different from a lot of modern music. There's a lot, obviously, in modern metal. There's a lot of the sort of guttural sort of death metal
yeah,
singing, but there's
yes,
not on this album. And I thought, although I have no problem with it, it's a pleasant surprise to not have it on here as much.
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a place for it, and that
Yeah.
song particularly needed that in
Yeah.
just how I heard it,
Yes.
kind of thing. Yeah, and sometimes you know, in some sections in the other songs have like Daniel does that, the kind of more um, not so much death metal, but more kind of like
Yeah.
screaming
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of thing, which is
Yeah.
just, you know, it's definitely a tool that you need to call upon in metal sometimes, because you want to have, you want the lyrics to be delivered in a kind of aggressive way,
Mm.
but it almost when you try and put a melody to it, sometimes it's just you know, there's just no melody that will work
Yeah.
um, in that kind of section, or that the way
Yes.
you want it delivered,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes you just want to have the lyrics delivered with just in a purely a rhythmic way
Yeah.
with no melody,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So that's really the beauty of death metal style, kind of thing.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can, you know, and it's just like it takes away any melody, and it's just purely rhythmic. And
Absolutely.
that's what you want musically sometimes. But yeah, I definitely like a mixture of it. You know, I grew up with Morbid Angel and Death and Cannibal Corpse and all that stuff. But yeah, it can. I know for most people it can get a bit much for
Oh, I
constantly.
mean,
You know,
well, as a constant thing, yeah. But I like the balance of it. It's what I'm saying is,
yeah, yeah. And
I'm glad it wasn't all the way through the album.
I mean, I'm a big lover of vocal hooks. You know, that's like
Mm.
I uh you know, things that get stuck in your like earworms. You know,
Yeah.
like Taylor Swift does them, and you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Katy
Yeah. Yeah.
Perry or whatever. You know, it's like I appreciate those just as much. You know, because it's like it's hard to do. It's hard
Absolutely.
to come up with something that's like so memorable you can't forget
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
thing. Yeah.
there are songs, aren't there, throughout history which will always be remembered because they are so memorable. Anything
Yeah.
by ABBA and sort of
Yeah.
the Bee Gees and stuff like that, because they are so instantly memorable. Everybody knows them. They're sort of in there. But,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's really the forefront when I'm writing a song. That's kind of I'll do the music first. So I had all the riffs and drums programmed, like just in my own demos, kind of thing,
yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I would go on like long walks and just listen, and then it just kind of, you can experiment in your mind, you know, as I'm walking around. I'm just sort of think, you know, certain words will pop into your head, like, oh, that kind of rhythm sounds like that word, kind of
Yes.
thing. And then so I would do it like that. And, you know, I kind of like start with the choruses, like lyrically and melodically. Each song I'll have a chorus
Yeah.
first,
Oh, interesting.
and then it's almost like, oh, that tells me what the song should be about. And then it's like almost like reverse engineering like the rest of the lyrics, like the verses and bridges,
Excellent.
to kind of marry into that chorus, kind of thing. So it's like so yeah, so that's definitely the vocal hook in the chorus is
The key.
my first
Yeah.
kind of problem I've got to solve. Yeah.
Yeah. Which brings us on the version I've heard, there's a bonus track, Chicks. Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
Chicxulub. Chicxulub. Yeah.
Which is got no vocal at all. This is entirely instrumental.
Yeah, that's an instrumental one. Yeah, and that. Yeah, I mean, I just that appears on the CD,
right,
as a bonus track, and it's obviously going to be on the streaming platforms as well.
Was that going to be a song at one point, and you couldn't work it as to get lyrics in there, or?
No, it was always supposed to be a instrumental.
Okay.
You know, like all those albums, you know, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All.
Yeah.
They always had an instrumental.
Yeah.
On there, so it's like you have to have one.
You have to do it.
But truth be told, it just wouldn't fit on the vinyl.
Oh.
So that's why, because it was So I had to make a decision. Do I like? At one point, I was toying with cutting all the songs down a little bit
Oh no.
to kind of make it fit on like because I wanted it to be two sides of one disc,
Proper old school.
like proper old school
Yeah,
kind
excellent.
of thing.
Yeah.
And it was Freddie at the label at Inside Out. He was like, well, why don't you just make one song a bonus track? And then I was like, oh yeah, that solves it.
Yeah.
Then I can present all the songs as I meant them to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
How long did the album take to write? You've been working on it for a long time.
Kind of on and off, yeah. Probably like the summer of 2023.
Okay.
I think I wrote most of the music. You know, I just had a kind of a sort of good chunk of time.
Yeah.
Where Haken wasn't doing much in the way of writing. It was like we were just kind of touring.
Yeah. You played Download that year, didn't you? I saw you at Download.
All right, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't. You've done so many. I can't remember.
I don't know. I'm terrible at that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, it was a while ago. I did all the music first, and I just really kind of had the whole album planned out. Like I just did it, and interestingly, I did the whole album in one project in Logic.
Oh right, yeah.
Which what I use. Usually, I've always worked. I think most people work. You know, each song is its own separate project kind of thing, and you have like hard drives. Like, and again, I'm like really useless at keeping all my work organized.
Oh, me too.
Terrible.
Me too. I've got it all over the place.
Yeah, and I've got like Gods of Pangaea. I've probably got like 15 different versions of it across different hard drives.
Yeah.
And so this time I kept everything in one project. I like the entire album from start to finish, which I felt really like helps me keep the form of the album under control, kind of thing. Where it was like, so I knew exactly the flow of everything. So like, I wanted the first track, Tyrannicide, to be I really had to try to make that 4 minutes. It kept wanting to kind of grow into like a 6 or 7 minute song, but I was like, I really had to kind of it's got to be 4 minutes kind of thing. That was my goal.
Yeah.
To just as a challenge, and and it's like the classic thing, starting an album with the short, punchy, thrashy.
So you guys fight fire with fire, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, fight fire with fire. Yeah.
Actually, so oh my god, it is almost like. I mean, it's not exactly, but there are parallels, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the second track can be longer.
Yeah,
that's the title track, right?
Yeah.
And so I had that kind of plan, of like those albums had a certain shape to them, which I enjoy. Like when you put on Ride the Lightning, it's like, I know where I am in the album kind of thing. It's like, which kind of, I guess that was a vinyl thing. You were limited in time, and like the sides had to be an equal length. Almost,
I think it's actually beneficial to have that limit, because
for sure, yeah.
I think since CDs came out and you've got that sort of 74-minute limit now, you'll say, oh, I've got to fill it up. You haven't got to fill it up. Keep your record at 35, 38 minutes long, 40 minutes perhaps, and you've got a perfect record.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to be
I'm kind of shocked when I go back to albums that, like Slayer albums.
Yeah.
And you sort of go on like Apple Music or whatever, and it's like you see the length of the album.
Yeah.
It's like, how is this 38 minutes? It's like,
I
remember it being like sitting there for like hours, like.
Well, you probably did. Just played it over and over and over again.
Probably, yeah. It's like, oh my god, like and no one ever thinks, oh, that album is too short or lacking in any way. It's just like
nobody's ever said an album is too short.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
Think. Yeah, it's always the other way around.
And it's I think about like recently put on the Black Album again, like a you know amazing Metallica classic, like the
Mm.
probably like the biggest
It
metal album
is.
ever,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But it's like structurally so bizarre. It's like it's weird. Um, you got this kind of front loaded with all the hits, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Enter Sandman, Nothing Else Matters, Sad But True,
Mm.
and then like the latter half is like of Wolfen Man and uh, My Friend of Misery, which are all amazing songs, but like you
But
sort
it
of
doesn't really
forget
doesn't
about
it
them.
doesn't balance, does it? It's not
Yeah,
balanced. Yeah.
that's the kind of that's to me it's kind of it's a very odd uh, sequence.
Mm.
Every song is amazing, of course, right? It's you know incredible songs, but it just doesn't have it just doesn't have that flow that Master of Puppets does.
No, for sure. But
Yeah,
as you say, it's one of the biggest albums of all time. So
yeah,
something is right, isn't it? Something there
yeah,
is right, and
yeah, of
it's
course, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not questioning
no,
them,
no, no,
but
no.
it's
The,
just
the wisdom.
yeah, but it's I just find it interesting, and it's probably because that was like the CD era
Mm,
where you could just
do what you want.
just plonk all the songs on
Yeah,
on a disc, and
yeah.
there's no limits to
Ah,
anything.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Another question I was going to have about this album is why is it not Charlie Griffiths? Why is it your name is not on it now? Is it
Yeah,
as the
yeah,
artist? Which makes it very
yeah.
difficult when I'm going to come to file it when I stick it in the record collection back
I
here.
know.
What am I
I
going
did
to
think
do?
I did consider that. I thought people were going to be annoyed about that. It was more to do with like it was. I, I, I thought it would be more. It kind of looks better, right? I don't
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
I like. Dan came up with this really cool
I
logo.
know it's amazing.
I was like, I'm not going to put my name like my name won't look cool. Like just put on there. Like, that would
Yeah,
just ruin it, kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll just I might as well just do it like like
So
Megadeth
yeah,
is Dave Mustaine, right? But everyone
yeah,
knows that. But
yeah, 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 yeah.
it's I didn't particularly want my name on it
There
on
it
this
is.
one. And it
And do you
was
think
like
going forward, if you do more, it'll be the same again? It'll be that.
I'll just keep it as Tiktaalica
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when Derek Sherinian did that. I thought there's a precedent for it, where it's like Derek Sherinian's first like solo album was Planet X,
Right.
and then after that, it was just the band became Planet X kind of thing. So it was like I thought, yeah,
I get you. I get you.
there's a precedent, so I'll
Yes.
go with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Excellent. um, by my calculations, now everybody from Haken has done at least one solo album, except Ray. I don't think he's done one, has he?
He hasn't. He hasn't. I don't think. Well, Connor hasn't, but I don't think.
Hasn't he Connor done?
So Ross has done his
Ross has done. Okay, you're right. Yeah,
Shadow of My Future Self.
Yeah.
And Rich has done
Rich has done a couple.
his Cocoon, and then he's got some EPs on the go.
Yeah, yeah.
Me done this.
Yeah.
Thing.
Peter's done
Pete,
his
Pete Jones, yeah,
nested shapes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I thought Connor had done something.
his Dusk Blossom it's called, right?
Yeah.
Pete's one. No, Connor and Ray are they go, I don't know. Maybe they got something brewing. I don't know.
Could be. I bet it will have euphonium in it as well, trumpets and stuff. Because
yeah, I hope so.
That'd be so.
Yeah.
How did you guys all meet up initially from Haken? Did you know them growing up with them, or?
Well, they were like so we're Rich and I kind of live in the same area, South London, kind of, and there used to be a pub / venue in Kingston upon Thames called the Peel, the Robert Peel, the Peel, and now it's gone now. It's completely demolished and
Oh, completely gone.
erased from history kind of thing.
Oh no.
But at the time, that was like a launch pad kind of venue. It was like one of those kind of rite of passage kind of places. That's like where you do one of your first gigs kind of
Right.
thing. And there was the guy there, John Patrick, aka Twang, was a he was like would promote bands and like he would do it old school, like
Mm.
you'd always see him up in the outside the Astoria or another venue that's disappeared,
Gone as
right?
well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he'd be like flyering, like the old way of doing it, and he was awesome. Really helped a lot of bands out and
Mm.
get started. And yeah, so I would just go down there sometimes just to kind of check out
See what's happening.
bands happening. And just
Mm.
one night, this Haken were playing. Didn't know anything about them, and they were playing at the time. It was like they were just doing the demo stuff, so it was pre-Aquarius.
Yes.
So stuff like Snow and Sleeping Thoughts Wake, and just all that stuff from
Way back when.
that CD,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
with the tree on it.
Yeah.
And I was just completely blown away. It was just like, my God, like there's a band doing it, kind of like this kind of progressive metal style, but they had this kind of other, just more colorful quality to it. Like there was kind of elements of Genesis and Yes in there. And you just didn't see local bands doing that kind of thing. And it was just like, oh, that's amazing. Those guys are amazing.
Mm. And
Um,
who was the band at that time? It was Richard.
so it's Rich, Ross, and Ray,
Right.
and
Yeah.
Pete Jones was in the band at the time,
Yes.
and Tom McLean was playing bass, and Matt Marshall was on guitar.
Right.
And I just remember going away from that and thinking, oh man, if I was going to do a band, it would be like that
Mm.
kind of thing. Yes. It's like, and I just kind of thought, oh, good luck to him, sort of thing. And then it was, I don't know, about 6 months later, I bumped into Tom McLean, who was playing bass.
Bass player. Yeah.
I just bumped into him at Waterloo Station, just saying, oh man, how's it going, kind of thing. How's the band?
Yeah.
He was like, oh man, two of the guys quit, kind of thing. And it was like, so
Oh.
Pete Jones had quit the band
Yeah.
to pursue his physics studies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And Matt Marshall had gone to law school.
Okay.
So they basically went to follow other careers.
Yeah.
Really, that was it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like when do I audition for the guitar thing as a joke kind of thing? And it was, I was like, oh yeah, get in touch. So yeah,
Wow.
that's what happened. I called him up and said, yeah, I'd like to audition. And
So it wasn't even advertised, or that's
I don't know. I don't
No.
remember. I don't know.
it's serendipity. I mean, it's meant to happen, obviously.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and then did the audition, and then we really immediately started working on the Aquarius stuff.
Yeah. So you were there
Yeah.
right from the beginning with the albums, weren't you? So
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah, and we're still going. Yeah, and then,
Very much so.
Yes.
I'm presuming there'll be a live release this year, because when I saw you in London at the Forum, that was all being recorded.
Yeah.
And
I think we've just signed off on all that, like last week or a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, all the edits done, the mix is done, the artwork's all done, and it's all signed off on and delivered, I believe. So
Super.
you'll be hearing an announcement, I guess,
Soonish.
soonish. Yeah, probably. I guess I think this year, probably. Yeah, I think.
Well, we'll hear the announcement this year, or the album will be this year.
Yeah. both.
Um,
Yeah, so it'll be like live at the full 3 hour show
mm.
with on like a CD Blu-ray
It
thing.
was it was an amazing show.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was really, really, really good. I took a couple of friends and a friend's daughter who didn't know what she liked music wise. So she likes sort of 16, 17 years old. Oh, she was so into it. She really got it.
cool.
I thought, oh, this is brilliant. This is so good. So
Yeah,
another convert, bring him into the fold, as it were.
yeah.
But
I mean, it was awesome just to play in that venue.
yeah.
Was amazing. So that was our first time playing at the Forum,
Oh right.
and
Was it
that's like one of those.
another one that you got to tick off, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like one of those few venues that are left in London as
Yeah.
well that you remember from back in the day.
I remember
I
it
remember
used to be the Town and Country or something like that, didn't it?
Town and Country Club. Yeah,
That's it.
it was. Yeah,
Years and years and years ago. But
yeah, yeah. I remember I saw Pantera there back in the day, and
yeah,
Dream Theater played there on the Falling into Infinity tour.
yeah,
I think a
yeah,
couple of
yeah,
times.
yeah.
Um, which I just recently rewatched. Someone's like there's like an old like camcorder video on YouTube of like the second time they Dream Theater played there.
Yeah,
It was like man, it was like they could play, man. They
yeah,
could
yeah, yeah,
play.
yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. So it's cool to actually get to play there. And the other cool thing was the London crowd really brought a lot of energy to the show, and like there were like circle pits and
Yes, they were.
crowd surfing, and
Yeah,
it was and that just makes us play
buzz.
with
Yeah,
more energy.
yeah,
It
yeah,
becomes less of because when you play to a more sedate audience, it feels more like a it's a different type of gig, right? You're sort of
You-
more
you're
it's more like a
entertaining.
recital
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when people are jumping around and moshing and
You know they're loving it.
there's just more of a you can uh, put more into it physically and it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
cooler. It's more
So
fun.
I don't play in a band now live, but I have done a lot of times, and you have those gigs which are absolutely, as you say, just the audience is quiet and doesn't do anything at all and just watching, and you feel as if you're being scrutinised, and you
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
oh no, they're waiting for me to make a mistake, and so you actually end up making a mistake.
yeah.
But actually, if everyone's going wild and jumping around, you know they're loving it, and you sort of end up I'm having fun as well. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes; it's all part
Exactly.
of the show. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's
it's
it's
everyone's
absolutely.
there as one in one happy, joyous moment, and
Yeah,
it's
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
And even, you can misread it as well. That's usually the case where people are just like staring at you intensely. It's like, oh, they're hating it. But it's like, but no, you speak to them afterwards and they absolutely loved it. But
Mm,
it's all those mind games are part of learning to be a better live performance. You
yes,
have like keeping that under control and
yeah,
try not to misread people and
absolutely,
and just try and stay relaxed and play as you would to for
yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
should get the same show, right?
yeah, for sure. Is Haken going to do any more live gigs, live shows this year at all? You got any
we,
festivals or?
we've got a couple. I think we've got starting. Well, our next gig is going to be Cruise to the Edge,
Oh, right.
um, uh, and then a couple of weeks after that, we've got um, Bangers Open Air Festival in Sao Paulo.
Mm,
And then that's going to be connected all with a short little Latin American run.
yeah.
And that's really all we got planned
Uh,
live so far. We're working on new music in
I'm
between everything,
sure you are. I'm sure
yeah.
you are. Oh,
But it's too early to say anything about it.
of course it
It's
is.
like
No, no, no.
it's still. I'm not being coy. It's just like
No, it's still gestating. It's
it's not anything to talk about yet. It's just
yeah,
like we've got ideas and songs, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
they always end up totally different to how they started. So it's yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I don't want to sort of keep you hanging around for too long. Obviously, you've got sort of a busy day and stuff ahead of you. Or maybe you don't. I don't know. But there is just one thing I would like to. I mean, you don't have to answer this story. If you were stuck on a desert island somewhere, as in
that'd be nice.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
And you had access to electricity, strangely on this desert island. So maybe it's the island on Lost or something like that. And you could plug in a record player, and you had 5 records. What would they be?
5 records. Okay, I would go Queen, Sheer Heart Attack.
Ooh,
that's like my go-to favorite album of all time, because it's like so diverse. You know, you've got this like, what is it? Bring Back Leroy Brown on it. Like this. What else is on that one? Like, my mind's gone blank. But it's just.
Shall I just Google it?
Yeah.
This is. So I can't remember.
You've got Stone Cold Crazy.
Brighton Rock. Lily of the Valley. Tenement, Funster, In the Lap of the Gods, Killer Queen. How did I forget that? Now I'm here. Now I'm here.
Yeah.
So Live Killers, the live album, has got so many of those songs on it. Now I'm Here and Brighton Rock are 2 of my favourite live tracks ever, and they're just on that record. Stone Cold Crazy.
And it's just kind of so many different styles on that one. You could I can just never get bored of listening to that one.
Yeah.
I'll go for Master of Puppets. Because obviously the songs are amazing, but also just the sound of the record is almost calming to me. Like the drum tone, the guitar tone.
Yeah.
It's so very warm and and that guitar tone is the metal guitar tone that everyone wants. That's like the Mesa Boogie, and that's a big part of why I love Dream Theater as well, because it's like it's the same. It's the Tama drums, and the Mesa Boogie 2C plus amp. That's the Dream Theater sound. That's the Master of Puppets sound. So it's like they've got that combination. Master of Puppets. I'd say Images and Words, because that was just a massive game changer. For
the second album.
The second album,
yeah.
Which I love all of them.
Yeah,
I love the first one. But
I'm actually I missed Dream Theater first time around, so I'm actually slowly working my way through at the minute. But I've just been listening to Awake as my last album I listened to. And I know some of the more modern stuff. I know Octavarium quite well, but so Images and Words and Awake I've recently listened to.
I got to kind of experience Dream Theater in real time, kind of thing, if you like. It was like there was a friend in the sort of Kingston area, a guy called Tim Spear, and he was like a real kind of, he played in a death metal band called Decomposed, which people listening from that time in South London will know them. And he was like, he would somehow get a lot of like imports, like American imports, and he was into tape trading and stuff like that. And I would go to his house, and he introduced me to like a lot of bands, like at the time, like Watchtower was one of the big tech metal bands at the time. A band called Magellan. Which have you heard of them? Magellan or Magellan or Magellan?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh man. They're probably like the biggest undiscovered gem. So I would put that as my fourth. Like,
okay.
So, which album? It's got to be a Magellan album. I'm gonna Google it quick, right? Just no, I know it. Impending Ascension.
Okay,
It's called, and I mean, you got to do a
I
listen
will.
through
I
of
will.
that
I will.
because
I will.
like
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
that comes as high praise.
it was like at the time it was like I remember it being like progressive metal was Queensryche,
Hmm.
Fate's Warning,
Face warning. Yeah.
Dream Theater, and then almost nobody else. But like Magellan were at the time they had a few kind of magazine articles about them. They were kind of
Yeah.
bracketed in that thing. But
Yes.
it was like the, their downfall was they weren't a live band. They were just like
Oh right.
it
Okay.
was two brothers. It was Trent Gardner.
Uh-huh.
He was the vocalist and composer and keyboardist. Which like James LaBrie fans will probably know that name because he worked with him on a couple of his solo albums, like the Mole Muzzler
Mm.
stuff James LaBrie did. Like Trent Gardner wrote a couple of songs,
Oh right. Okay.
and but yeah, so his band Magellan, um, absolutely amazing. Yeah, it's like it's very kind of very keyboard driven, and it's got that kind of late 80s, early 90s sound palette kind of thing, and it's like very
Okay.
nostalgic, but just incredible vocal hooks and yeah,
So,
I just
what was the album called?
that's that Impending Ascension.
Impending Ascent. I'm going to make a
Yeah,
note of that. Well, no,
yeah.
I've got it on video now, so I don't
And
miss
it's
that out.
one of my favorite songs of all time on that is called Storms and Mutiny.
Right.
And it's all about it's like a history lesson of Ferdinand Magellan, like actually what his life was.
Ah, there we go.
It's
I've got it.
amazing. It's amazing. It's
1994 that came out.
yeah,
Impending Ascension. Wow. Okay, that looks good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I've got one more album.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm probably missing something huge, but um, uh, I'll probably I'll go Rust in Peace,
Oh,
Megadeth.
right. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just because that is just such a guitar tutorial. It's
Yes.
like not only everyone goes on about Marty Friedman's solos, of course they're
Yes.
one of a kind and just you know absolutely unique and
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
well
Yeah.
composed and catchy and everything. But Dave Mustaine's riffing is just
Something else.
it's just
Mm.
yeah it's like
Um,
he was really a pioneer of the guitar because of
mm,
like his like when you see him the stuff he's playing and putting into the riffs.
mm.
Um, it's just got such a fingerprint to it that you just know it's him. It's
Yeah.
and even you can listen to Kill 'Em All
Yeah.
and Ride the Lightning,
Yeah.
and you just know which riffs Dave Mustaine wrote on those
Yeah.
albums.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
just got
Yeah.
such a style to it, and I
Yeah.
just love it. Yeah,
Oh, I love
yeah,
Kill 'Em All. That's one of my favorite albums. I love
yeah,
it. Love it. Like, it's so
yeah,
raw. I think that's what I like about it.
yeah.
Sort of early albums from bands because they are so hungry and sort of not and ambitious, sort of not sort of settled into any ways at that time. I
Yeah.
love those sort of albums.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and
Mm.
I also think the latest one, 72 Seasons,
Yeah.
they captured some of that
Yes.
rawness, and
Yes.
it was,
Absolutely.
it was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you could just tell it's just guys in a room playing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it's
So a
just not
lovely
too
return, isn't it?
yeah, it wasn't too like overthought. It was just like here's some riffs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna his voice sounded kind of raw and right really on the edge. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Again, I saw them on that tour. Not last year, the year before, when they played at Download. For
yeah,
2 days they played it.
yeah.
Oh man, that was a show. That was such a good show.
Yeah, because we were playing on that like
You,
the first day.
yeah. So we saw you in
Yeah,
the tent, the
yeah.
Dogbone tent.
Thanks,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thanks.
But, So, but your set was so short. Oh no, it's over almost before it started.
I know that was such a blur as well, because it was just like, those kind of festival things. It's just like you don't get a sound check or anything. It's just you just have to throw everything on stage and just an hour kind of live setup is not really conducive to that.
Yes.
We have this kind of complicated in-ear system, and it was it was a nail biter, because it was nothing. Even as we were playing, nothing sounded right. It was,
oh really?
It
sounded it sounded great though from where I was standing.
Oh,
but,
thank you. Yeah. To us, it was like, oh god,
get off the stage quick. Can't wait for this to be over.
But no, we could tell it was, it must have sounded pretty good out front, but on stage it was a nightmare. But
do you find that often the case that happens?
Festivals, it does happen, and but you just got that's your time slot. You got
to do it.
You just got to make the best of it. And
is there any thought of taking Tiktaalik out live?
I'm thinking of it more and more. Yeah, it's like I just kind of always thought it'd be a studio thing, but I'd like to do it, like particularly with these songs, these new songs. I think
they lend themselves brilliantly to.
Yeah, I think so. They would be like good live songs, because it's like, I hope so. I want to do it.
Watch the space.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Charlie, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat. Really
Thanks for
appreciate it. No worries at all. I've already had a chat a few years ago with Ray, and I keep meaning to talk to Rich as well. We've sort of chatted, say, we will do. And I sort of haven't quite got around to it yet. So I'm going to slowly sort of tick off all of Haken and say,
yeah, for sure.
Put them all together and we have a sort of big reunion. But lovely.
All
right. Well, have a great day, and
you too.
Hopefully see you out on the road at some point soon.
Yeah.
Ish.
All right. Have fun.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.